Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Talk of Louisville. I'm Mike Mulroney.
I'm Kelley Duckworth.
Kelley, you got winded walking over to the pout. Is that a problem?
You did or I did?
I can't catch my breath just walking over here to the
It's
soundboard.
probably what you did this weekend.
Yeah, we had a fun weekend. This weekend was our annual adults weekend in Brown County. We rent a big cabin, and there's about 8 couples, and we've been doing it for about 15 years, so it was fun.
Yeah, well, I went to the zoo yesterday because the weather was great.
The zoo?
Yeah.
Wow, I took a nap all day.
Much
the
calmer
weekend
than
beat
your
me down.
weekend, I'm sure. I'm sure.
Well, we got some special guests today, but before we get to the guests, we got a sponsor that does amazing things in the community, Timmy's Car Wash. If you haven't been to Timmy's out on Dixie Highway, you know, it says it in the logo. Happiness is in a clean car. They do a fabulous job, family owned. And I think actually the owners out there often dry cars, and Dennis is pretty hands-on. Do you know Dennis at all?
A couple years ago when I was with you, I met Dennis.
There you go. Him and Melissa do great things. So anyway, if you need a car wash, now that the weather's breaking, please check out Timmy's Car Wash. I do believe they do details as well. So big shout out to Dennis, Melissa, Jordan, and the family at Timmy's Car Wash. All right, our guests today, wow, Terry Hall and Kaylin Hibbs with the Lesley and Rhyan Prather Foundation. Y'all are making a name for yourselves.
Well, Lesley and Ryan already made a name, and it was just, easy enough for us. I say easy, but their legacies were so big already that, their name is what's carried this thing forward and the impact they had. So
I didn't know her, but man, the pictures I see seems like she was so full of life that it's incredible. And it shows with the following that you all built so fast, probably because of her name and everybody knew who she was.
100%. Yeah, I mean, a loss like that, everyone's important. Everyone leaves their lasting mark on life, but to have the impact that we've had with this foundation is only because of them and who they were when they were alive. So just bigger than life personalities. Obviously, South End born and raised, so she's had a big footprint here in the South End and PRP. But I won't say it was easy because obviously we were dealing with the grief of everything. But growing our foundation into what it is all because of them and their name and who they were, and so it was all them.
Yeah, well, let's take it back a little bit. So in 2020, just for the record, Terry was on the board of Shirley's Way, and we were doing a lot. You were doing a lot for us and with us, and then your life changed in 2020. When was it in 2020? It
was actually Valentine's Day of 2020,
and it was a car wreck.
Correct.
On their way to St. Louis, I believe. So what happened? You want to start from the beginning, kind of talk through it?
Yeah. So oddly enough, and we were just talking about me being on the board. On February 13th of 2020, I was doing my taxes with Wendy, and Lesley and Ryan and the whole family was out in this end of town because they had moved to Taylorsville Road. But they were out here for a game night at her cousin's school, and she was speaking to the kids about being a firefighter. And there was a video of her talking about, why it's important for girls to be firefighters and just Lesley being Lesley. And then they went and spent time at her mother's house, which is my mother-in-law. And I left Wendy to go be with them. And then the next day they were going to leave for St. Louis for the weekend. And things were just really odd for Justin, Lesley's husband and Ryan's dad. And
why? Because they were going to go gone for 4 or 5 days, probably.
They had just gone quiet. And Justin had Ryan's phone pinged, and the phone wasn't moving. And so before he even heard or got word, he knew something was going on.
Wow.
And that kind of just started the chain of events. And we caught word that Lesley, Ryan, and then Casey and Carrie McCall, there was another mother and daughter who played on the team, were in a wreck of some sort. And we didn't know a whole lot initially.
I can't imagine watching the phone stop in the middle of nowhere and not know what's going on. I'd have lost my mind if I was Justin, probably.
Yeah. Yep. And the big thing too was so obviously Justin knew who was in the van and what was going on. But for us, my wife and I, we just knew they were going to the tournament. We didn't know they were riding together or who was with who. And so when I got the initial call, the first thing I asked was Ryan with them? And they're like, all of them were together. And so, your mind's processing potentially losing one person to 4. And you're never prepared to lose anyone suddenly, no matter what people say. You can't be prepared for death, fully prepared at least. And then it goes from 1 to 2, which you've lost, a sister and a niece, and now you've lost 2 of their friends. And so the tragedy just amplified by the moment. And we're over by PRP, and the family is out off, Taylorsville Road. So that drive, the 40-minute drive, basically is one I'll never forget. I don't remember any of the details of the drive itself, but I just remember trying to process it while being there for my wife.
Was this during the day or is this late at night?
So the wreck itself happened midday. Um, Obviously, take some time to find out. And randomly, I think it was a Friday. Valentine's Day was that year, and I'd left work early to kind of get home to go have dinner with the family. And it just so happened I got the call that something was up on the way home, and I was home very quickly. Which it was just, I don't know how it's set up that way. I rarely left work early, but got to my wife as quick as I could, and we just started saying like we got to go be with Justin and the kids, and so we just took off, and it was just kind of a whirlwind from there.
Yeah, you kind of zone out when something like that happens because you're so focused on what do I got to do right now that I'm sure it's a complete blank. That's a 45-minute drive sometimes from here to there. So
Right.
that's a long time to be thinking about what to do.
Right. And then, and just in my brain, um, I'm like, even with this foundation, my thought isn't to completely just lose it. It's more to like, what can I do? And so now I'm trying to be there for my wife and trying to think ahead of like, how can we be there for Justin and the kids? And you push back like your own grief in the moment. Um, and then you start thinking about the community. They were on their way to play in a volleyball tournament with 10 other girls that are 12 years old who just instantly lost 2 of their best friends and their coaches.
I never thought about that. Did they continue to play in the tournament, or did they all come home?
They did play in the tournament. I think the Friday they normally do like a prayer service and some things, and so they honored the girls there. A lot of the girls wrote their numbers, their jersey numbers on their shoes, and there was ribbons. And they played for Kiva at the time, and Kiva is such a community in itself that they really, really rallied around the girls and the family. And actually, the head coach, Courtney, at the time became one of my first board members. And so, yeah, I mean, this is what we think about, and I'm kind of jumping around, but when we think about how we're impacting the community, one thing that's often missed are the children that are involved with dealing with the grief, because we're out trying to fundraise to raise funds to help families, but there's kids that are going through this too. And so immediately I started thinking about their friends and my kids, and um, adults aren't, we're not born to handle situations like this. Life kind of gives us experiences that teach us how to deal with it. Some deal with it better than others, but kids, they're just going through life. And this was a huge impact to not only us as adults, but the kids involved. And so the community was shattered.
Yeah, because they had such a large footprint in the community. When you was talking about the kids, we deal with that on our side as well. When a child has cancer, they get all the attention, and like it or not, if they're siblings, they get. The kids don't really fully understand. I think at a certain age, so they start acting up a little bit because they feel like they're being left out because their sibling is getting all the attention, even though they're sick. So no, kids at a certain age, they just don't understand,
One,
and it's hard to explain it to them.
even in that situation, those siblings that are witnessing that have kind of lost one of their best friends while they're dealing
Yeah,
with treatment.
for sure.
So you're used to the day to day of wrestling with little brother, and then
Now it's gone.
little brother can't.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
for
it's
sure.
traumatic for all parties.
So did everybody? I never heard. I'm just curious. Did everybody hop in the car and drive to St. Louis at that point, or did y'all just have to sit and wait until the authorities told you what to do?
Yeah, so it was a waiting game. Um, and this is, we talk about how the family and the community is like just grown together because of such a tragic event. It happened in Wentzville, Missouri, and the Wentzville Fire Department instantly responded. They actually have a fire station just off the overpass, and it happened right by an overpass, so they were there within 3 minutes. And when they were rendering aid, it was it didn't take long for them to realize that Lesley was a firefighter, one of their own. She was studying for promotion to become a lieutenant, and she had the material in the van, and she was wearing a thin red line leggings, I believe. So they knew instantly that she was one of theirs, and not as if they wouldn't have handled any different, but they
But it's
fought.
different, yeah.
They fought, and then the 2 girls, the young girls, Ryan and Casey, they did everything they could for them, and but it was such a violent impact that they didn't feel anything, but they were still going to do everything they could. And so they were talking to the Louisville Fire Department because it's a brotherhood and a sisterhood. And um, one thing I'll never forget is that we were reassured from the moment that they got to the wreck, the Wentzville Fire Department, to the moment they handed over. I'll say handed over till someone from Louisville Fire went up. There was someone standing over guard of Lesley and Ryan, their body at all times.
It gives me cold chills just to think about.
Yeah. So they were never left alone. Their bodies were never left alone. Um, and it just speaks volume to firefighting community, really, because um, they've they were just there for us. And even to this day, there's a Wentzville firefighter fighting for his life, and we're actively, helping them. And every year when we do our golf scramble in the summer, it's the family, friends, and first responders. The afternoon is a first responder scramble, and they 2 or 3 groups from Wentzville comes down and stays the night with us, and we hang out before, and we have a big after party, and their family, and it's like you lose 2 pivotal members of your family, but somehow our family grew in that moment, and it's just, I mean, it's just wild.
Yeah, there's another Oregon town that the tragedy happened in Florida, and they do an event in Florida every year now. Y'all thought about doing anything like that up in Missouri?
Yeah, so you're talking about the Kurtz
Yeah,
Gessners.
yeah,
Yeah, they were our first major
yeah,
give back.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we were able to.
You helped them get set up too.
Yeah, they did a lot of theirs on their own for specifically, but we were able to fly grandparents down to Florida through Network for Good. And the very first day that we had Network for Good available to us is the day that that happened.
Wow.
And they were our first fundraiser, and we raised 10 grand in a couple hours to pay for a chartered flight to get grandma and grandpa and an aunt, I believe, down there to be with them, and they've done amazing work. Um,
Yeah, they do.
but yeah, so we are actually working with Wentzville to take a baby box
Oh yeah,
and put one into one of their fire stations
that's cool.
as our first kind of give back. And they do an outreach scramble, and we sponsor that every year. Um, I wish they weren't 5 hours away so we could be a little more actively involved in it. But the goal is to, within the next year and a half, to get them a baby box. Um, and obviously we know what baby boxes mean because you and
Yeah,
I have partnered, and
yeah,
that's our first big step into doing something with Wentzville. But they're an extension to our family, no doubt, and the community. Someone up there wrote a book and an article that got published in the Courier called, like, wooden crosses, where all of us do it every day. We drive an interstate and we pass crosses on the side of the road, and we know what happened there as far as a loss of life, but we don't know the story of that person. We just assume, some people, like Stace, my wife, every time she passes a cross or an ambulance, she says a silent prayer for them or whatever, but you just go about your day. And I forgot the guy's name, but he wrote an article sharing what their story was. So all the people up in Missouri know, that's not just 4 crosses. There's 4 lives behind that, and there's 4 stories behind that, and they didn't have to do that.
yeah.
And um,
It's funny you say that. We went up again this weekend, Brown County, and to get to the cabin we go to, it's about a 2 mile drive down this road through the woods. And I happened to look over this weekend, and there was a cross with a bunch of flyers around it. And I immediately started wondering what in the world happened. What's the story here?
yep.
But we passed by it so fast, I'm not so sure. But I did notice the cross on the side of the road.
Yeah, it makes you stop and think for a minute because we get so busy in our day-to-day lives. And I'll be the first one to tell you, there's plenty of times when there's a wreck and I'm just frustrated because it's inconvenienced me for the day, or like
Yeah,
I'm going to be late to something. And then with the wreck with Lesley and Ryan, now I'm just like, and there's someone's family that's dealing with this, whether it's a fender bender and you have to deal with repairs and everything, or if it's a loss of life. Um, my 10-15 minute inconvenience is nothing in comparison to what those families are going through. And those wooden crosses is one of those examples too, where I never stop to think there's a story behind it. I know someone lost their life, um, but there's a family dealing with what we've dealt with,
yeah,
and it's just, we've all lost someone to a car wreck.
yeah. So you were inspired, obviously, to start something new, and that's when you founded the Lesley and Ryan Prather Foundation. So you all do a lot with tragedies. That's pretty much the goal, right?
Right. Yeah. And like you said, I was on your board at the
Yeah,
time. Um, a little step back, I met Mike because Mike messaged me on Facebook when my brother and I were hosting a golf scramble for one of his employees who lost his 21-year-old daughter. Um, to some sort of ovarian cancer. She had a cyst, and then it became terminal. And so we were just trying to help raise funds to give her a proper burial. And I think at the time you had $500 in your account, because I think this was 2014.
Yeah.
And you showed up with a $500 check, and I think on the day we raised maybe $2,000. So 25% of what we raised was from the check for you.
We were like 12 at that time, right?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm still 12, right? But yeah, so you showed up, and I know you were just getting going, because I think you formally started in 2013, right?
Yeah.
And so to me, I was like, man, this guy's pretty awesome. And it just stuck with me that you extended the offer and did it. And so you and I that's where our friendship kind of started.
Yep.
And I started volunteering with you. And I think at the beginning, I was just kind of running the golf scramble.
Yeah.
And then helping with the 5K. And so probably 3 or 4 years of volunteering turned into 3 years on the board. And throughout that, I was able to sit and watch Shirley's Way become what it is today, and learn from you and mentor from all the volunteers, and the good, the bad, the in between. But the one thing that always stuck with me is that, I'm looking at the logo right now, and it always has Shirley's name on everything.
Yeah.
And no one's going to ever forget your mother because of what you did, and you took a leap of faith to ensure that her legacy was always one that's going to last long after you. And then when everything happened with Lesley and Ryan, I was kind of just in a tailspin and trying to figure out what we can do. Kind of lost as to how we can make this into something that one day becomes, maybe just a little bit of a silver lining in it. And I was still on the boards and still trying to actively be a part of that. And then it was like, why couldn't we do something like this for Lesley and Ryan? And then it was like, all right, we're doing this. And talked to Justin, got his blessing, and then we just took off, because people that live, a great life and have a lasting impact, the day they get put in the ground or get cremated shouldn't be the day we stop that legacy. It should just grow from there. Yeah. And that's kind of what I wanted to do. And the family was behind it, and off we went.
So when you started it, did she play volleyball at U of L, right?
Yeah, Lesley and her sister Sarah both.
So you instantly had, it seems like everybody at U of L, volleyball, all the Louisville Fire, all the PRP, all fire departments seem to know about the foundation because of Lesley. So when you started, you kind of had a huge built-in following of people that were willing and able to say, hey, what can I do to help? Let's make this happen.
Exactly. So
you got one of the biggest firemen I've ever met in my life. The big guy, what's his name?
Big G.
I thought I was tall. Man, I look up to him every time I see him.
Yeah. So he was actually, Clarence Gamble is our vice president. He goes by numerous names. Big G.
He's huge.
G.
Nice
Sexual
guy.
Chocolate. You name it.
There it is.
Clarence Gamble is his
Get him a shirt made that says that.
We give him to him so much. And as you could tell, like, obviously what we deal with is serious stuff, but we like to have fun.
You have to, because we walked in today and the lady in our office is crying, and because you hear that stuff. When you hear all the tragedies and things that go on, it breaks you down. But then when you're willing to step in and do something and help, it's got to feel good.
It does. And so back to Gamble. So he was teaching at the academy where the recruits go through.
I'm gonna arm wrestle him, by the way.
Don't do that. He used to be built like me. But so he was at the academy. She came through, and then when you get out of the academy, he goes back into a firehouse. And so he's at the time was a captain. He's now Car 3, which is at corporate or headquarters. But he made it clear he wanted Lesley. He's like, I want her as my firefighter. I want her at my station. If I get stuck in a fire, I know she'll pull me out. And so
he had a good connection with her.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And so
because he's all in. Every time I see him, he's there. Every time I'm around you, he's there. I thought he was a security guard or something.
Well, he doubles as that, but he's a big teddy bear, so it's more likely that he's pulling me off of someone.
Yeah.
So
right.
But she was in his firehouse.
Absolutely, yeah. So it was 1422 at the firehouse down off the Algonquin Expressway, and so to your point, so there were so many communities, one that was dealing with this loss because of the impact they had. But then those communities were the ones that rallied behind our family, because they all knew that as much as it hurt them as an extension of Lesley's family, imagine what the family's going through, and Justin and the kids. So that I just remember vividly the night that it all happened. We were just sitting in Justin's living room like literally in a circle.
Staring at the wall.
Well, we were telling stories.
Oh, okay.
We were telling stories. Like someone, I think it was Justin, was like, "Look, we're not going to sit here and just make this a sob fest. Like we're going to talk about them, and we're going to be sure to celebrate the lives they lived." And obviously, we were all hurting, but it was such a moment. And when the Trouts lost Madeline, and that night I was in their living room, and they had a similar setup. They had everyone kind of just surrounding the living room, and I've not been pulled to tears many a times through this because I'm kind of a robot to it. I walked in that living room and felt the exact same thing I felt in Lesley and Justin's living room.
But they had the same thing. If
Yeah.
I'm not right, I could be wrong, but I think Marcy realized that her car wasn't moving anymore, and it looked like she was in the middle of Dixie Highway. And she's like, "What in the world is going on?" Horrible tragedy. Which, by the way, they settled the case, I think, last week. So
They did.
I'm not sure the guy got enough time, but at least he's going to be away for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So you were sitting in the living room with Justin and family, telling stories and talking about all the good times, I assume.
Yep, and it was just the fire department had a couple people there. They had a chaplain. They had their media person handling the media for us so that we didn't have to deal with it. The University of Louisville Athletics had some representatives. There were just so many people that had surrounded us that while they were dealing with this loss as well, they were supporting us. But part of the foundation thought in my head that kind of started that day was like, what if we didn't have this? There's families that deal with these losses that have no one to be there for them, and they're just lost. They're dealing with the loss of life, and they don't have people calling funeral services for us. They don't have a big family. Sash is a brother-in-law as well, and me and Sash, trying to help, and Justin's brother is an attorney, and so we've had all these built-in layers that were helping the family, so that Justin didn't have to deal with this alone. But there's so many families that don't have that, and that instantly was like, how do they get through this? And now that we're running, 4 years into the foundation, that's what we're trying to become, is that community, and those resources that we needed at that time that ultimately we were lucky and fortunate to have. And that's kind of where the thought was in that moment. I was like, we'll do something, and we'll make sure we help people because of all these people sitting in the room with us, and the thousands of people that were not in the room, but doing, starting to do things, to plan memorials, to honor them, and whether it's T-shirts or whatever it was, we just felt so much love. And there was a whole other family, the McCalls, that were getting the exact same amount of love
I
in
was
just a
going to
different
ask if
community.
are they involved with the foundation at all, or I always wondered if they felt left out because so much was done around Lesley and Ryan that I just always wondered if they were part of this or helped
Yeah,
out.
yeah. So, and you'll hear me mention, I always make
Oh
sure that
yeah,
we're
of
honoring them
course.
too, and it's very, I'm very sensitive to that. But yeah, they're doing on their end. They created a scholarship fund, that has an endowment, and they're honoring Casey and Carrie at Assumption High School, and so they're doing things a little less involved as far as, like, it's very involved, but it's not a massive foundation. But they've showed up for us. They come to events. We come to their events. They're part of our family now
Yeah.
too, and they've dealt with more tragedy since. Just 2 months ago, Carrie's little brother died unexpectedly at 43, which is how old Carrie was when she died. And her mother is still alive, and her mother has now lost Casey and Carrie, and her husband, who was a firefighter, retired, and then her son. So this family's been just through it, and we were able to do a fundraiser for them to help cover some of the cost. And we've Lesley's mother is going to meet up with the McCall mother, Patty, and we were forced to become a family instantly. But Lesley and the girls were already tight. We just didn't, like, I'd be lying to say that we had a relationship, me personally, with the McCalls, other than just the surface level of knowing who they were. But we've become a family through this.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's great that everybody, a lot of times it pushes people apart. Especially tragedies, husband and wives often get divorced when kids. So been doing this for several years now, and I think you and I talked how overwhelming it can be to try and do all this yourself. And then this year you brought Kaylin on, is that right? So what's your official title?
I am the executive director.
That's what I thought.
Yep.
So you're helping now with all the events and things like that they
Yep.
put on?
Events, our give backs, just Wherever I'm needed, I'm there.
Yeah, for sure.
Sounds similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can relate.
My little sidekick over here.
Well, I can still remember when you were talking about bringing on Kelley, and Kelley was asking me questions on the side, and I'm like, this is what Mike needs, and you've got the passion because your mother was helped through Shirley's Way, and Kaylin and us, we already had a relationship through our kids, and she wanted to do something that was meaningful. It wasn't about the money. It was about I want to have a purpose in what I do. Obviously, she doesn't have a background in nonprofit work, and Kelley didn't either.
None
but
of us.
No.
Yeah,
No.
right.
None at all.
I didn't know what a 501c3 was when we started Shirley's
No.
Way.
Yeah. But I had a little more experience because of the time with you. But Kaylin's here to help us continue to grow because you know how it is when you catch lightning in a bottle and something just grows. I mean, I think of the Queen of Hearts is really when I think Shirley's Way exploded. The second drawing that was just massive. There's no way you working a full-time job with kids, you have 3 kids just like I do, could sustain that growth. But you don't want it to slow down because of the impact it has on families. And that's when a Kelley or a Kaylin has to come in because you and I are very similar in that we want to fix the world and all the problems, but there's too many cracks in the foundation for us to fill them all. And so you need strong women and volunteers like these 2 girls. And it was overdue.
Yeah, no, I get it. I just, you get to the point where you're up till 2 or 3 in the morning trying to handle tragedies, and the pain of reading what people are going through is difficult enough, but to have no sleep and then take time away from your kids. So I've told Kelley she's a blessing multiple times, and she calls me old every chance she gets. So
Hey, she just called me young, so I'll take it.
Right?
but I'm sure having Kaylin help out. So what kind of events do you all have coming up? How do you raise money? Let's talk about that a little bit.
What's our next event?
Ladies' night. And it is
I think we bought a
literally
table.
We do, yes.
It
We love
is-
that event.
Yes, it is so fun.
Yeah.
So when I actually first, joined, the first week was Ladies' Night. That was my first event.
Oh, way to
And
get
the
thrown in
corporate golf
that.
scramble.
And yeah, it was Saturday was Ladies' Night.
Yep.
And then Monday was the golf scramble.
Wow.
It was like hit the ground
Yeah,
running.
welcome aboard.
Yeah. But no, that event it is amazing. It's
When it's at a new venue now, right? Which
Yeah.
looks beautiful.
Progress
It
Park just
is.
built a big, nice venue, and there's a bunch of airstreams around the property, and there's a pond. It's just gorgeous. And the McDowell family is a Kiva family that we met through the foundation, and they're co-owners of that venue.
That's awesome.
And
We've talked about using that place,
gorgeous.
and I'd have to convince the Cabo guys if we get the party again, maybe to continue moving it. But yeah, I think I connected with one of the guys, and we need to schedule time to go out there and look at it and see what
Beautiful.
the space looks like. But I heard it's amazing.
it is. It's gorgeous, and it's a
Is it
hidden
big?
gem. It's big. It's not as big as Melwood, but we do like a seated event. So we're
Well, and you had even said before that you didn't want that event to be huge. You like it small and intimate and,
yeah, and it's a room full of women that are there drinking, having a good time, and playing bingo, and it's hard enough to get them to be quiet so they can hear me talk.
You
But-
need to have it to where the guys can be the waiters or something.
Well,
They
That'd
were
be fun
supposed
go
to.
They're there.
Look, as big and macho as firefighters are, we tried our best to have them come in uniform
Yeah.
and just be volunteers for the event. And the wives were all for it. The wives of the firefighters, and they're the ones that wouldn't do it. Big G.
I was going to say, sexual chocolate.
See,
Yeah.
but so the ladies' night is the next big event. We did our bourbon release.
Thank you for the bottle, by the
Yeah.
way. I
Yeah.
should have grabbed that, put it over here.
So we have a partnership with Maker's Mark. We talk about the community and how everything's so intertwined. Rob Samuels is the president of Maker's Mark. His sister, Samantha, her daughter was playing on Ryan's soccer team when everything happened. And I reached out to Sammy and asked to get some Makers donated for our first ladies' night event. And she's like, okay, let me see what I can do. And within minutes, I was in a group text with some guy. I didn't know who he was, president of Maker's Mark. And he set up a call, and then he went, hey, we'll do one better. We're going to donate a private pick for you and the foundation, and we'll bottle it, and you can raise funds off of it. And now we're in our 5th year, and it's raised over $100,000.
Grab that bottle, Kaylin. Wait, we'll put it on. So how are you selling these? You sell them every year?
We're not selling. We are offering
Okay to
raffle
talk about
tickets.
it then?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
They're
Yeah.
raffle tickets.
Yeah, it's pretty
Um,
cool. This is a bottle. I can't see it. I don't have my glasses. Oh, 58?
Yeah, there's
Yep.
244 in there.
200, yeah. So limited edition. I think you've given me one of these that past couple of years.
I believe so. Yeah.
But it's pretty amazing that they're doing this because we looked into this, and a barrel of whiskey to try and get is well over $10,000 to $12,000.
It's pretty close.
So that's the gift that they gave to you all to be able to do that. It's
Yep.
pretty incredible.
And we even take one, we get the empty barrel. They give me the barrel and all the bottles boxed on a pallet. I drive down there, they drop it on my truck, and everyone looks at me funny when I'm driving home with a pallet full of booze. But we even take that empty barrel and turn it into a propane-powered fire pit and auction it off at our gala. And then we auction off 4 to 6 people to go on the pick with us to pick it. So we squeeze every penny out of that barrel.
So how do you do this again? How do you get a raffle ticket, or how's that work again?
Yeah.
So people know if there's a website they can go to.
So we offer roughly 150 to 200 raffle tickets. It gives you a chance to get a bottle, but just so happens that there's 150 to 200 bottles available. So you'll get a bottle. And then we do a release night at Cask, which is out in J-Town. So that basically the first year we were trying to deliver all those, and that's not very good logistically. So now we let you come to us.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's 5th year of that. So that's our next big event. Then it goes into the ladies' night, and then it goes into our empowerment camp, girls empowerment camp that we partner with the Louisville Fire Department, because obviously mentioned that Lesley was a female firefighter, and she broke the mold because she was a mother of 4 at the time, a stay-at-home mom, got her youngest into school and decided that she wanted to give back. And so her sister Sarah, her husband is a firefighter, and so Lesley saw the process of him becoming a firefighter and the impact he was having. And she's like, I could do that. I want to do that. Became a firefighter in her mid-30s, a mother of 4, and just she's not your typical.
I mean, I have firefighter friends, and there's no way physically I could do that job.
Yeah.
Can you imagine me trying to drag you out of a building?
I think you try real hard.
You would be toast. Like, I would try hard, but it's probably not going to happen.
I know that's the problem about being a big person.
I mean,
it's tough to do. But obviously they had enough confidence in her to do that. Actually, you and I met with Chief Carrie in Fairdale.
Yeah, Carrie Blevins.
And was she saying that they had some girls in Fairdale that are going to go to the camp this year?
Well, every year, Carrie Blevins has been, so the camp is for middle school age girls, 4-day camp. We put them through some of the physical training that you would see at a recruiting class. We get them CPR certified. We empower them in numerous ways by bringing in female volunteers. But every crew is led by a female in the fire service industry. And then once the girls go through the camp, they come back next year as a legacy and a mentor and help. And Ashby works in fire prevention, and she kind of had this brainchild that she was thinking of doing something like this. And I wanted to do some type of girls empowerment camp because, you think of firefighters historically growing up, I only thought of boys, right? Yep. And it's not the case. There's plenty of women in fire services. So we're in our 4th year of that, and it's amazing. And they get to graduate and they're coming out CPR certified, and then they come back and volunteer with us and always help families that we're helping. And it's just a beautiful thing. But the biggest thing about it is that these girls come out feeling empowered. They feel like the best versions of themselves, and they feel like it doesn't matter that they're a boy or a girl or what they are. They can do whatever they want.
Well, I was going to say, life is all about having the confidence to do something, and I'm sure that builds their confidence like crazy.
It's awesome. It's amazing to watch. I actually cried this year at our little graduation ceremony at the end because it was my first time seeing it, obviously, and I saw them on day 1. They all come in, they're quiet, they don't talk to each other, super shy, and by the end of it, you see the actual connections that they've built with each other and just a real change in them.
I don't know how you could track this, but I bet a lot of them end up being lifelong friends.
Oh, I'm sure.
And probably end up in the fire profession as well.
Yeah, and so that's the big thing about a lot of camps do the camp and they do it well, and then it's a summer or whatever it is, and then it's kind of over, and it's up to the kids to create or to keep those relationships. We let the girls become legacies, so we're encouraging them to come back and have an impact on younger girls, but it's also keeping them together. And when Ashby does something for the empowerment camp outside of the actual camp and has like a speaking engagement or whatever it may be, she invites them. We did Fire Prevention Week. They have these called these ducks. They're scorching ducks is what they're called. But you drop them in a bathtub, and it's for new parents because you just don't know. Sometimes the water's hotter than you think, and kids get scalded and drowned and have these things happen. Well, we donated a bunch of those, and the girls went down to the Norton's Women and Children and donated them. And when you drop the duck in the water, if it's too hot, it says hot. So new parents know,
Wow.
my kid can't get in there yet.
Yep.
And our girls went down there and presented it, and it's such a cool thing. Honestly, it's one of the positive things we get to do, because what we deal with is death and critical illness and things that it's so deep and hard to like find the positive in the moment. This is something very positive, and these girls' lives will be changed forever. And personally, I don't care if any of them take a profession in the fire service industry. I just want them to walk out feeling empowered, that they can be great at whatever they want to be. Because obviously with social media, boys kind of have this internal, not all, I'm not going to generalize that, but like, I know when I was a kid, if someone like talked down to me, in my head, I'm like cussing them out. Like, I'll show you. But girls are, and I speak from a dad of a girl. I can't yell at her and tear her down and expect her to build herself up like I was as a boy. So girls need a little more reassurance to say like, hey, like, this isn't a man's world. Like, there wouldn't be a world without women, and you can do these things. And social media can tear girls down because a lot of it's so surface and about image and all this. And so it's a camp where we just get to build them up and love on them. And again, it's all females there. Big G's there. I'm there to kind of just oversee to make sure nothing goes wrong or that they don't need anything. But
is this a week-long camp?
It's a 4-day.
4-day. Okay.
Yep. And it's middle school age because it's not a recruitment tool for us.
I was going to ask the age. So it's middle school.
Which middle school is such a horrible time.
It's like
in
peak of
girls or
life
boys,
gets
honestly.
weird.
Yes, but I remember middle school being horrible.
Yeah.
Well, but you're right. Social media has made it very difficult for girls because girls always, it has to be the image. It has to be the perfect picture. It has they see friends posting stuff that they think, oh, I'm not as pretty as she is. And next thing you know, their confidence starts tanking.
Yep.
Right.
But I can see where this has a huge impact on confidence.
It does. And it's called the Lesley Prather Empowerment Camp.
Is there a website for that, or just
it's all on our website.
What's the website?
LRPFD.org.
And that's for everything, for the empowerment camp,
yep.
to make donations, to get you a chance on the bottle. Is it a chance? You say
it's
a chance, right? Okay, I didn't. How much are these?
$100.
$100 for a chance.
Yep, and it all goes back to the foundation because we have no cost involved in this. But yeah, everything's out on the website. But the empowerment camp was just like, you just leave that week feeling like you made a difference.
Yeah.
And you see those girls, like Kaylin said, they come in all shy and then they leave like cut. Actually, it gets to where we're like, y'all got to stop. Y'all gotta calm down. But middle school was the perfect age for us because we're not trying to push them towards the fire service industry. What we're trying to do is empower them that they could be pushed towards whatever they want to do. And high school feels like a recruitment tool.
Yeah.
I don't want to feel that way.
You don't want to feel like you're putting on a commercial for the fire department.
Right.
Even though it might cause some of these girls to lean towards that way as they get older,
Oh, the first one that goes into the fire service industry, we're going to celebrate like crazy.
Are you keeping track of where they end up? I mean,
yeah.
So how many, you've done this 4 years?
Yeah. So now we've got girls that are in high school. No one's graduated high school yet, but they're getting close. Our first class is, and now we're offering a scholarship to a legacy when they continue to do volunteer work. So instead of just leaving the program and hoping they're successful, we're encouraging them to continue to do volunteer work. And we gave out 2 scholarships at this last class graduation to encourage them to go to college and have further education or become a firefighter or go into a trade school. But whatever it is, if you win a scholarship, we're going to support it. And it's a $1,414 scholarship, 1414. If you look at our logo, both girls are wearing a 14 jersey.
I noticed that on here.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this year's bottle is 1414.
Yeah.
So everything we do is so personalized. I want you to feel like you get to know Lesley and Ryan with everything we do, and I want you to feel like you're part of our family. And I'm an enemy of my own at times, but I'm in my brain so often to make sure that what we're doing never loses that feeling, which means it takes a lot more work for us. But I never want anything that we do, whether it's helping a family or someone volunteering or someone going to our camp, I don't want it to feel like a business transaction. I want it to feel like you just walked into the family's kitchen and we sat down and worked through some problems and you left feeling loved. And so that's hard. It's easy. Now, I won't say everyone works that way. There's some that we step in and we might help with a bill or something and it's pretty quick. But we want to be a part of, if you lost someone, the grief process. We want to walk it with you. we want to support you. And obviously, financially, there's only so much we can do because it's an expensive industry. Death is. But, whether it's a grief counseling resource we provide, whether it's Kaylin, being available to you to, we've got an older lady who lost a husband who he paid all the bills.
Yep.
She has no clue how to pay bills. Would you help her get glasses the other day?
Well, her eye exam, now she needs glasses, and they had to refer her out. So just little
never thought of,
ins and out that.
Yeah, if something happened to me, I know all the passwords. So I don't know.
Yeah.
So something like that, you might want to keep in mind that, a spouse or partner might not have.
Yep.
Well, let's pretty amazing stuff. How much have y'all given away since you started?
So we were in between 1.1 and 1.2 million dollars. We were actually helping the Luxemburger family and the Trout family start their nonprofit. So there's going to be a big give back for them because we're kind of mentoring them and getting them pushed. So that'll get us to 1.2 million. But it's over 500 families that we've helped with financial assistance. As far as resources that aren't tied to finances, couldn't even keep track of that because we're not tracking that.
Yeah, we don't either.
It's too hard.
Well, Kaylin, give us a couple events you got going on this year and how they can donate.
Yeah. So, like we said, we have our
got
ladies'
the dates
night coming
down
up.
pat?
Here's the test.
Oh God,
I don't even remember the dates.
Yeah. It's all on the website.
All right.
So we got ladies' night coming up.
Sold
gala.
out.
Yeah. Sorry, guys, ladies. And then our gala is August 23rd.
It's the Saturday before Labor Day.
Yeah.
We had fun. We went this year. It was a good time. Yeah.
We hope you don't feel like it's a traditional gala because that's our big thing. Is so it has its traditional aspect where there's a program, but at the end it just becomes a party.
Yeah.
And I have to have someone walking around being my handler because
your voice of reason.
Yeah,
I've got a few of those.
Can you take his phone
chase
sometimes?
me down. Hey, you can't do that. Well, thanks so much for coming on. Couple events this year, and go to the website to get information. And the website is again
lrpfd.org, and we have all socials, so you can find the website on the socials too.
Fantastic. Well, thanks so much for coming in. Pretty amazing stuff. And maybe we'll do it later on this year and talk about the events and see how they went. So,
absolutely.
Thanks so much, Lesley and Rhyan Prather Foundation, and we'll see you all next time.
See you all.
See ya.